Have you ever stopped to think that there's a type of help that God doesn't approve of? Sounds crazy, right? Jesus preached unconditional love, taught us to forgive 70 times 7, but did he also set limits on who we should help? Today, I'm going to show you 7 biblical truths that reveal who Jesus forbade helping and why this completely changes how we understand Christian love. This is not an easy message to digest. In fact, it's one of those truths that many people prefer not to discuss because it challenges our romantic notion of goodness. But look, Jesus was clear when he said, "Do not throw your pearls to pigs." He knew the limits of love, and today, you will discover why helping without spiritual wisdom can, in fact, be disobedience. If you've ever wondered why some people you've helped remain in the same cycle of self-destruction, if you've ever felt that your love was fueling something wrong, this message is a divine warning for you, because sometimes helping means disobeying, and you need to know when that happens. Stay with me until the end, because I have a powerful revelation that will connect all these dots, something Jesus truly taught, but that is rarely preached. Shall we delve into these truths together? We grow up hearing that helping is always good, that we should extend a hand to everyone without exception. But what if I told you there's an invisible line, a point where compassion transforms into something that displeases the Creator? That's right, God, who is love, is also justice. And when we read the scriptures with open eyes, we realize that Jesus never taught blind love. Think about it. How many times have you helped someone who used your kindness against you, who turned your generosity into weakness? The truth is, not everyone who asks for help is ready to receive it, and Jesus knew this better than anyone. He healed multitudes, but he also left the cities when he perceived that hearts were closed. He fed 5,000 people, but he harshly confronted the Pharisees who followed him only out of self-interest. Matthew 7:6 contains one of Christ's most shocking statements. "Do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet, and turn again and tear you to pieces." This is not an empty metaphor. Jesus was establishing a principle of discernment that most people ignore today. True love demands wisdom. It requires us to look beyond emotion and ask, God, will this help build up or tear down? Will it bring this person closer to you or push them even further away? Because helping someone who rejects the truth is not love, it's complicity. And that's just the first layer of what we're about to discover. But why would Jesus be so radical? What did he see that we are not seeing? There's a story in the Bible that few people pay attention to. It's about a young, zealous prophet who received a direct order from God. He was sent to confront King Jeroboam, who had completely strayed from the Lord's ways. The mission was clear: prophesy, eat nothing in that land, drink no water, and return by another way. Simple as that. The prophet obeyed. He bravely confronted the king, refused the rewards offered, and began his journey back. Everything was going well until an older prophet appeared. This man lied, saying that an angel had given him a new order: "Come back with me, eat and drink at my house." The young prophet hesitated, but eventually gave in. After all, it was another servant of God asking for hospitality. How could he refuse? But that decision cost him his life. On the way back, a lion killed him, not because he was evil, but because he disobeyed a specific command from God. He was seduced by help that seemed good, but which was outside of God's will. This story is in 1 Kings 13, and it teaches us something brutal. Not all human goodness is aligned with the purposes of heaven. Do you know what this means for us today? That there are times when helping someone can take us away from the center of God's will. It may seem cruel, but think about it. If you lend money to someone who will use it for vices, are you helping or destroying? If you cover up someone's sin to protect them, are you loving them or preventing them from facing the consequences that could save them? God doesn't ask us to be harsh. He asks us to be wise, because love without discernment fuels rebellion. And rebellion always ends in death, whether physical, spiritual, or emotional. Does this bother you? It should. Because the next truth goes even deeper. Jesus had a unique way of teaching. He didn't waste words. And when he repeated something, it was because it was absolutely essential. One of the phrases most repeated by Christ was this: "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven." Matthew 7:21. This is not a detail. It's a red flag. The Master was warning against something dangerous: spiritual deception. There are people who speak the name of Jesus, who attend churches, who even do charitable works, but who live completely outside of God's will. And the worst part is that many don't realize it. They think they are pleasing the Lord, when in reality they are building castles in the sand. Jesus was even more direct on another occasion. He told the Pharisees, "You are like whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but full of decay on the inside." Imagine the scene. Religious leaders, respected by all, being called hypocrites in front of a crowd. Why? Because they helped people to gain applause, not to glorify God. They prayed on street corners to be seen, but secretly exploited widows. Jesus' love was relentless in its treatment of falsehood. He healed lepers, embraced prostitutes, ate with tax collectors, but he harshly confronted those who feigned holiness. Because he knew helping a hypocrite without confronting them only strengthens their lies. It fuels their deception. And in the last days, as it is written, many false prophets will arise. Many will ask for help, shed convincing tears, and use God's name to manipulate generous hearts. And that is precisely why Jesus gave us these warnings, so that we may not be deceived by the appearance of holiness. So what is the first hidden truth that he revealed? Do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine. Matthew 7:6. This is one of Jesus' harshest sayings, but also one of the most liberating, because it gives us permission to stop insisting with those who do not want to change. Let's be honest. How many times have you tried to advise someone who simply didn't want to listen? You prayed, fasted, lost sleep, offered practical help, and the person remained in the same place, blaming everyone but themselves. Do you know why? Because they rejected correction. And God does not bless those who reject the truth. Proverbs 9:8 says, "Do not rebuke a mocker, or he will hate you. Rebuke a wise man, and he will love you." This means that there are people who, when confronted with the truth, attack those who love them. They turn your kindness into a weapon against you. And Jesus knew this. Look, I know this is difficult. We want to save everyone, but there are people who aren't ready to be saved. Not because God has given up on them, but because they themselves have chosen to harden their hearts. And when you insist on helping someone who rejects God, you are actually delaying that person's transformation process. Sometimes, the greatest act of love is letting someone reap what they have sown. It's allowing the consequences to do the work your words couldn't. Because God uses pain to awaken rebellious hearts. And if you always soften the blow of their fall, you prevent repentance. Oh, and before we continue, if this message is touching your heart, leave a like below. It helps me understand that you're connected to what God is saying, and subscribe to the channel, because there are still 6 truths for us to uncover together. I promise each one will open your eyes even more. But be warned, the second truth speaks of something even more dangerous. Jesus was spot on when he said, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves." Matthew 7:15. He didn't say, "Maybe they will appear." He said, "They will appear." For sure, and they will be disguised. This means that the spiritual enemy doesn't always have horns and a tail. Most of the time, he has memorized verses, friendly smiles, and touching stories. He comes asking for help, saying that God sent you to rescue him. And if you lack discernment, you will feed the wolf, thinking you are saving a sheep. Consider the story of Judas. He walked with Jesus for 3 years. He participated in miracles, heard the best sermons in history, and was considered trustworthy enough to manage the group's finances. But inside, he was a thief, And in the end, he betrayed the master for 30 pieces of silver. Didn't Jesus know? Of course he knew, but he allowed Judas to remain because each person needs to make their own choice. The point is, not everyone who walks beside you is truly with you. Some people are only around to use your kindness as a stepping stone to their own interests. And when you help these people without discernment, you're not serving God. You're being complicit in a deception. 2 Timothy 3:5 speaks of people who have a form of godliness but deny its power. These are people who speak the right language, frequent the right places, but their hearts are full of rebellion. And if you let yourself be deceived by their performance, you will end up exhausted and disappointed. Jesus never told us to be naive. He said to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. In other words, love, but with your eyes wide open. And there's more. The third truth reveals when love becomes poison. This is where things get really uncomfortable, because we want to believe that all love is good. But it isn't. There's a type of love that actually sustains destruction. And Jesus made that very clear in the way he treated repentant sinners versus rebellious sinners. Remember the adulterous woman? She was dragged to Jesus, about to be stoned. And what did he do? He forgave her. But he didn't stop there. He said, "Go and sin no more." John 8:11. Do you see? Jesus extended his hand but demanded change. He offered grace but also responsibility. Now compare that to the Pharisees. They came to him with loaded questions, trying to catch him in a contradiction. And Jesus? He didn't patiently explain things. He confronted them harshly. He called them hypocrites, a brood of vipers, blind leading the blind. Why? Because they didn't want truth. They wanted validation for their sin. Here's the principle. Helping someone who consciously lives in rebellion is supporting that person's downfall. It's like giving money to an addict to buy drugs. You think you're loving, but you're killing. Because true love confronts. True love says, "I love you too much to pretend this is okay." Some parents destroy their children through their excessive love. They cover up lies, pay debts caused by irresponsibility, and invent excuses for their mistakes. And so they create spoiled adults, incapable of taking responsibility for their actions. This is not love, it's neglect disguised as kindness. God calls us to love truthfully, and truth sometimes hurts. It exposes, it disturbs, but it's the only thing that sets us free. John 8:32 says, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." A pious lie saves no one, but there's one detail that changes everything, and that's what we're going to talk about now. There are moments in the Bible when Jesus simply remained silent, and that is powerful, because his silence was not empty, it was a response. When he was brought before Pilate, unjustly accused, questioned repeatedly, what did he do? Nothing. He remained silent. Isaiah 53:7 had already prophesied. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. But it wasn't just with Pilate. When the Pharisees came with malicious questions, Jesus sometimes didn't answer. He would change the subject, tell a parable, or simply walk away. Why? Because he knew when words would be wasted. Some people don't want answers. They want to argue. They don't want solutions. They want justification for sin. And with these people, Jesus chose silence. Not because he was proud, but because he knew that pearls thrown to swine would be trampled underfoot. Ecclesiastes 3:7 says that there is a time to be silent and a time to speak. This means that sometimes the wisest thing you can do is say nothing. It means not engaging in the discussion. It means not trying to convince someone who has already decided not to believe. Think about it. How many times have you wasted energy explaining something to someone who didn't want to understand? Defending your faith to someone who just wanted to make fun of you? Trying to save relationships where you were the only one investing? And in the end, you were exhausted while the other person remained exactly the same. Jesus teaches us that there is wisdom in silence, that not every battle needs to be fought, and that sometimes the greatest act of love is to leave the person alone with their own choices until they are ready to truly listen. But silence isn't everything. There are still 3 more truths waiting. Now we've reached a crucial point, because after talking about boundaries, rejection, and silence, someone might think, so Jesus is telling us not to love? No, he's telling us to love in the right way. Christian love is not sentimentality. It's not pretending everything is all right when it's not. It's not accepting everything in the name of peace. True love is firm, it's courageous, and it demands change. Remember when Jesus drove the money changers out of the temple? He didn't politely ask them to leave. He overturned the tables, scattered the coins, and shouted, "My house will be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves." Matthew 21:13. Is that love? Yes, because love protects the sacred. Love does not allow the profane to dominate the holy. Or when Peter tried to stop Jesus from going to the cross, Christ replied, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me." Matthew 16:23. He called Peter, his friend, his disciple, Satan. Does that seem harsh? But it was necessary, because what Peter was proposing, even with good intentions, went against the Father's will. Love with discernment means knowing when to say yes and when to say no, when to embrace and when to step away, when to extend a hand and when to let the person fall, because sometimes falling is the only way for someone to wake up. Proverbs 27:6 says, "Faithful are the wounds of a friend, but the kisses of an enemy are deceitful." In other words, whoever truly loves you will correct you, even if it hurts. Whoever only wants to please you will destroy you with empty praise. So before helping someone, ask yourself, will this build them up or tear them down? Will it draw them closer to God or push them away? And have the courage to act on the answer, even if it means doing nothing. But there's an even greater truth coming, and it changes everything. This might shock you, but it needs to be said. Not every request for help that comes your way is from God. Some are tests, others are distractions, and some are traps set by the enemy. Jesus knew this perfectly well. In John 2, during the wedding at Cana, Mary asked him to solve the problem of the wine. And what did Jesus answer? "Woman, what does this have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." John 2:4. Does it seem rude? But he was establishing a principle. He did not answer every request, even from people he loved. He only acted when the Father commanded. There's an incredible story in Acts 16. Paul and Silas were preaching, and a possessed young woman began following them, shouting, "These men are servants of the Most High God." It was true, right? She was proclaiming the truth. But Paul didn't accept that marketing. He realized it was an evil spirit trying to associate itself with the gospel, and he cast out the demon. Do you see the subtlety? The enemy can even use truths to mislead you. He can bring people with real needs, touching stories, genuine tears. But if you answer that call without consulting God, you may end up outside of His will. It's like that young prophet I mentioned earlier. The request for hospitality seemed legitimate. It came from another servant of God, but it was outside of God's plan, and it cost him his life. That's why Jesus spent entire nights in prayer. He sought the Father before every decision. And when the crowd wanted to make him king, he simply disappeared, because that wasn't the plan. It seemed like an incredible opportunity, but it was a distraction. Before helping, pray. Ask yourself, Lord, is this what you want me to do? Because generosity without divine guidance can be a waste, or worse, disobedience. But one truth is still missing, the most important one of all. Now let's wrap things up. Because after all these truths, someone might be confused. So should I help people or not? The answer is, it depends. Jesus never forbade love. He forbade waste. He forbade us from throwing away our time, energy, and resources on those who deliberately reject the truth. Because when you do that, you're not just being ineffective, you're preventing that person from facing the consequences that could save them. Think of the prodigal son. The father had all the money in the world to go after him, to pay his debts, to get him out of the pigsty. But he did none of that. He let his son fall to the bottom. And it was exactly there, eating with the pigs, that the young man came to his senses. Luke 15:17 says, "And when he came to his senses, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, and here I am, starving to death?'" If the father had helped sooner, the son would never have regretted it. So the greatest act of love was in action. It was allowing the pain to do its work. Jesus helped thousands, but not all. He healed multitudes, but not all. He preached in many cities, but not all. And this did not make him any less loving. It made his love more strategic, more effective, more aligned with eternal purposes. So, whom did Jesus forbid helping? Those who reject correction, wolves in sheep's clothing, those who consciously live in rebellion, those who want to debate but not change, and those whose requests do not come from the heart of God. It's not cruelty, it's wisdom. It's not a lack of love, it's mature love, because true love seeks transformation, not comfort. It seeks salvation, not popularity. And now the time has come for the final revelation. So here it is. After everything we've discussed, the message isn't stop loving, it's love better. God calls you to be an instrument of transformation, not of complacency. He wants you to reach out, but with wisdom, to forgive, but demand change, to be generous, but not to be used. Jesus is our perfect model. He loved everyone, but he didn't allow everyone to approach him in the same way. He had circles, the crowds, the 72, the 12, the 3 intimates, and John, the beloved disciple. Not everyone had total access, because intimacy is built on trust, not opportunism. And look at this powerful revelation. In Matthew 10:14, Jesus told his disciples, "And if anyone will not receive you or listen to your words, shake the dust off your feet when you leave that house or town." He gave permission to leave, to not insist, to not waste time where the word was rejected. Doesn't that set you free? Because we spend our lives thinking we have to save everyone, that if someone gets lost, it's our fault. But it's not. Each person has free will, and when you respect that, you honor the gift God gave to humanity, the ability to choose. So the next time someone asks for help, ask yourself 3 questions. First, does this person truly want to change, or do they just want temporary relief? Second, did God send me to help, or is it just my emotions talking? Third, will this help bring them closer to Christ or push them further away? And if the answer is no, have the courage to step back, pray for the person from afar, leave them in God's hands. Because sometimes the greatest miracle happens when we step aside and let the Holy Spirit work. This message is not easy. It challenges much of what we have been taught, but it is biblical. It is real, and it is necessary so that you don't get lost trying to save those who don't yet want to be saved. Jesus calls you to love with purpose, to be wise as serpents and innocent as doves, to extend your hand, but also to know when to close it. Because you are too valuable to be wasted on those who don't value what you offer. If this message touched your heart, leave a comment below telling me, which of these 7 truths impacted you the most? I want to know. And share this video with someone who needs to hear this, because many people are being destroyed by misdirected love. And don't forget, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, because here we're not afraid to preach the complete truth of the word. Because the truth sets you free, even when it's uncomfortable. May God bless you with discernment. May He teach you to love as Christ loved, with grace, but also with truth. And may you never again confuse blind kindness with true love. Stay in peace. And remember, loving wisely is not loving less, it's loving right.